right. Welcome to Falls Count Anywhere podcast. Charlie Turner here back in the captain's seat, if you will, along with Christopher DiCarlo and John Restino. John, thanks so much for co-hosting and filling in last week. You guys did a great job on last week's show. So maybe I should just bow out, man. Let you guys take over this shit. You guys did a good job, man.
No, thanks, but no, you got to be here. That was great. Thanks for letting me, though. I had a great day. I had a great time.
Yeah, it was fun to watch as an outsider. A lot less pressure, a lot less, like, oh man, So because if you guys screw up, I'm not as worried about it as when I screw up. So but no, I'm.
Yeah, it was all good. I think we're the 6-man tag team. How about that?
There we go.
Yo,
they're
I don't want to know the combined weight.
The combined weight of Andre the Giant.
Yeah.
All right, but
as we
Charlie's
are
back, and take it away.
Yeah, absolutely, man. As we are back here on Falls Count Anywhere, back in the saddle, so to speak, and getting things up and running here on May 21st. We are finally thawed out here in Buffalo. We got some sunshine. We got like 80-degree weather today, and so we're getting out the grills and the sunshine and all that good stuff. So we're enjoying it here in Western New York. And as we got coming up on today's show, we got Chris's vault that we're going to unleash. Of course, later on, we got some classic clips. We got some chic tweets and whatnot. So we're definitely going to get to that. But most importantly, of course, this show, to me, the engine of this show is the guests that we bring in. And we do have a very special guest with us today. Our guest today is a co-host currently of the Pro Wrestling Inside and Out podcast. He is a former professional wrestler. He is also a member of the Alabama Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. He is Mr. Jack Lord. Jack, thank you so much for joining us today, sir. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great, guys.
Awesome, man. So much. We're so happy to have you join us on today's show. We want to talk a little classic wrestling with you, of course. But before we get into that, Jack, I just want to find out about you, sir, as far as like your current podcast you got going on and anything you got going on in 2022 you'd like to tell us about.
It's a great show.
We do our podcast is available on YouTube and Facebook Live every Tuesday night, 6:30 p.m. Central, 7:30 Eastern, and we just we cover the history of professional wrestling. We have literally hundreds of hours of video available on our YouTube channel for anybody that wants to click over there. But my co-hosts on that program, they've been involved in professional wrestling all their lives. Their dad was the late Ron West, who was a big-time referee in all the territories. He also worked in the office and, most of the territory systems that he worked in, and worked in WCW as the second in command behind Ole Anderson for several years. This is my 47th year of being involved in professional wrestling. So, we've been around the horn a couple of times, and we're not experts by any stretch of the imagination, but we love this industry, and we're trying to preserve our history.
Absolutely, and that's kind of the perspective we kind of bring on our podcast. It's like a fan's perspective. So when we have guests like yourself that can shed some more knowledge on us as far as wrestling history, we're always appreciative of that. Any wrestling stories or whatever the case. And Jack, the first thing I wanted to ask you about, when you first broke into professional wrestling, what was it that sparked your interest in it? And then once you got your foot in the door, what was that experience like?
Well, I never remember not being a fan of professional wrestling. My earliest memories are sitting on my grandfather's lap, when I was a toddler, and watching the Nick Goulas promotion out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, back in the day. When I was 16 years old, I had never been to a live professional wrestling event. But when I was 16 years old in 1975, I've been around a while, they did what we call an outlaw group, came to my high school gym in the middle of summer. In Alabama, in the middle of summer is not a very indicative place to have any kind of events because we didn't have a lot of air conditioners back then. But I went, and actually got there early, wound up helping set the ring up. The promoter either liked me or saw a sucker. I don't know which one, but I wound up helping with the show that night. I was the timekeeper. I would take the jackets and robes back to the dressing room. And just, from that moment, I knew that this was an industry I wanted to get into. Now, I grew up, I had asthma really bad. So I thought, well, if I'm just going to be able to be a ring guy or whatever, I'm okay with that because I love wrestling so much. I was satisfied with whatever. I outgrew the asthma, thanks to me lying about it and joining the Army, and they sent me to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and that climate completely cleared me up.
Wow.
And so I spent 7 years in the Army. I came out and I had trained. I'd already knew that, I wanted to be a wrestler. So I had trained periodically during that time period at different places where I was stationed at. I would find local shows. And so in 1985, I was home finally got moved back home. And a couple of weeks after that, I started full-blown training. And within a month, I was in the ring in front of a crowd for the very first time.
Wow. And I would assume that had to be nerve-wracking, right? First match in front of a crowd. I mean, like that had to be.
Oh, and it was a massive crowd too. And I wore a mask, which I have often kidded that it's a good thing I wore the mask because my teeth were chattering so bad from being so nervous that the mask was the only thing that kept my jaw from falling off.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. We had Jose Luis Rivera with us a couple weeks ago. And, any masked wrestlers, we like to ask them, did you prefer working as a masked wrestler or with or without? And a lot of them said with, because, your facial expressions and your whatever else is going on underneath that mask, the crowd's not going to see it. So you kind of maybe hide behind it a little bit, so to speak.
Yeah, I wore a mask for the first year and a half. And but I preferred coming out from under it because back then, the facial expressions were and still are. It's just not utilized as much as it should be. But those facial expressions are what really gets you over a lot of times with the crowd out there. They need to see, when you're registering that pain and everything. So I enjoyed wrestling without the mask much more.
Very cool. Very cool. Very interesting. I always wondered about the the backstage workings of the business. Like you talked about, like the ring setup. I always wonder, when guys show up from underneath the ring, are they under that ring the entire event? And if they are they thinking, man, is this ring going to come collapsing down on me? Because I've never seen that happen, of course, unless it's planned, right? But that ring is not going to collapse, right? I mean, there's about 1,000 pounds of weight in there at any given time.
I never did that, but I can imagine that you would have that thought. One of the most famous angles that ever happened in the South was the cage match between Jerry Lawler and Austin Idol, where Tommy Rich came out from under the ring. And Tommy told me this story many times about how they put him under the ring an hour before the show, but, before they opened the doors. And he had to stay under there all night.
Wow.
And they gave him a case of beer and some bottles to urinate in, if you need to. And he was not supposed to peek out or anything. As a matter of fact, he said he fell asleep during the main event. And wow. That the referee was supposed to signal him and had to signal him a couple of times before he realized, oh, that's my cue. I got to go.
That is hilarious. I've always wondered that. Like, do those guys stay under there the entire night, or they kind of sneak them in there during the event?
Well, that's the way they did. Now, I was at a WWE show once where they did, somebody coming out from under the ring. But what they did was they took an intermission or commercial break or whatever right before this was supposed to happen, and they pushed a cart out to ringside where you think that it's just part of the ring crew checking everything, but the person is inside that cart. They just flip the apron up and they slide out and go up under the ring. So no, they're not out there all night anymore. They're much smarter about it now than what we were back then.
Yeah, do what you got to do, though, man. Right? So yeah, that's awesome. And Jack, did you have any once you got into once you kind of got your rhythm into wrestling, you were no longer green, I guess I should say. Did you have any opponents that you enjoyed working with, or any anybody that you enjoyed or didn't enjoy working with? Was there any preferences there?
Not really. I mean, the ones who I didn't enjoy were just guys who never really went anywhere in the business, never didn't understand what was going on, and quite literally just didn't belong in the business. So they never lasted. I really, was fortunate. I was able to be in the ring with a lot of guys. Bullet Bob Armstrong was always great to be in the ring with. I was one of the first guys that ever wrestled the Road Dogg when he first started. My time in Continental, I wrestled just about every baby face there because I was always a heel under all kinds of different mask gimmicks there. I wrestled Big John Studd.
Oh, cool.
And that was a real pleasure. I really enjoyed that. And as a matter of fact, I remember correctly, I believe I was the last match he had.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Would you say he was your biggest, like in stature, biggest opponent?
One of the biggest anyway. I'm a pretty good sized guy myself. I'm 6'4", I always stayed around 320. And there was a few times that I wrestled guys bigger than me. I wrestled Umaga, John Studd, a few guys that were bigger than me, but usually I was the biggest guy in the ring.
Yeah, 6'4", 320 plus, man. That's no slouch right there, man. You could kick some ass, I could tell. So Chris, don't get out of line on today's show, all right?
Yeah, well, I'm going to jump in there and say, Mr. Lord, speaking, I think I told you real quick, I've been a fan since 1980. I was 5 years old. And here in the Western New York, Niagara Falls, Buffalo, and then we got Canada nearby. So been watching it, and John here too since 1980 and Mid-Atlantic and all that stuff. Just a fan, but my first live match was in '84 in Buffalo. And but Mr. Lord, I have a lot of that footage you were talking about, and my collection always grows. In fact, I just sent some discs to Mr. Adam Parsons, asked me for discs. So that was cool. But this is my passion, my life, like, a hobby, and just appreciate and love. As you see too in my messages, I capitalized the P and I capitalized the W to make a statement, because I got the respect and love for it.
So Jack, let me ask you about this. We have now, we're getting a lot of rumors, and it looks to be confirmed at this point, that in July, Mr. Ric Flair, who a lot of people consider the greatest of all time, is going to be making a return to the ring for one final match. There's two sides of thinking on this. One is, my gosh, he's 73. He was just in the hospital. Like, everybody thought he was on his deathbed 3 years ago. Thank God he recovered. But now, is this pushing it? Is this, is it going to be okay? And then there's the other thinking, like, well, the guy's been a professional for his entire life. And whoever he's going to be wrestling, I'm sure is going to be equally professional. What's your school of thought on that? Do you look forward to seeing Ric Flair one more match, or is it kind of like a little apprehension there?
Well, honestly, I mean, they're going to be doing this in Nashville, which is just a few hours drive from me. But with those $2,000 front row tickets, I probably will not be attending. However, I understand people's trepidation about, the health concerns, but he does have medical clearance from his doctor to do this. He is 73 years old. There's been plenty of professional wrestlers that have still wrestled up into their 70s. Lou Thesz was 74 in his last match.
Oh, wow.
So, it's not unprecedented. It's not like he's making a full-time return. He's scratching that itch, and I understand that because I have been retired from the ring for 13 years now, and I miss it every day. And if I were able to, I would go back for one last match. So I admire and understand what he's doing. They're also taking those steps of making this a 6-man tag so that he is protected to a great extent. You know, you're not going to see Ric Flair going out and doing a 1-hour match like he was so well known for. You know, I don't care what his cardio's like when when you pass a certain age, you're not going to go an hour doing anything.
Right.
But I believe that they're going to structure this match and set it up to where everybody that watches this is going to go home knowing that they got their money's worth.
Yeah, and I think that's mainly Ric Flair's goal too, right? Not only just to kind of scratch that itch that you're talking about, but to put on a good show for the fans. I don't think he would do it if he knew he couldn't put on a good show. So
well, and that they wanted Ricky Steamboat to do it, and Ricky declined because he said that there's no way that he could perform at that level, and he didn't want to embarrass himself. I get that. Rick, however, has had this idea in his head for a while. So it's not like he started training last week when this was announced. He's been hitting the gym, getting himself back in ring shape for a while now. So he's going to be good. He's going to be good.
I think so. And, we see the Stinger, Sting in AEW at 60, I believe he's 66, 65, somewhere in there.
63. We're actually the same age. I'm a month older than him.
Ah, very good. Okay, yeah. So we, seeing the Stinger, and not only is Sting, of course he's part-time, but you see some of the high risks he's doing, going through tables and backflipping off of, high spots. So it's impressive to see Sting doing it, and it'll be equally impressive to see Flair do it.
Hey, like I say, we're so close in age. His high spot is coming off the balcony through tables, and my high spot is getting up to go to the bathroom.
That's like a hardcore match, right? Is this getting up in the middle of the night to go?
It is.
John, do you have a question for Mr. Lord today?
Well, for me, Mr. Lord, I just kind of like Chris, just a longtime fan, and I just help produce the show. That's what I'm here for. But I'm a fan, a huge fan, so I don't say much. I just listen. And unbelievable. I appreciate when you guys come on like this. And I don't know, I said this the last time I was on, I was able to speak. I didn't realize, now I'm 51, but I didn't realize back in the 70s and 80s what a big deal this was. Two guys like me. It's huge. This wrestling, it kind of shaped my whole, when I think about it, almost my whole childhood into becoming an adult. So thank you. I thank all you guys because I don't know if you realize what an impression you guys made, and I appreciate it.
I understand that. I had that, excuse me, I had that conversation with Lou Thetz one time, and told him how much I appreciated the way he had formed my life.
Yeah, it's funny too because with us, the age group that we're in, everything kind of transitioned perfectly. When we were kids, it was the golden era of the WWF, and we woke up on Saturday mornings watching, Hogan and the Macho Man, all those guys. And then as we got into college, our college years is when the Attitude Era took over, and it just transitioned perfect because we were in our 20s. We're watching Stone Cold beating the crap out of McMahon and drinking beer, and you got divas and they were half naked. It's just been unbelievable. Now it's kind of coming back again to where it's a newer generation and more of like a kid-friendly thing with WWE. But let me ask you this, Jack. As far as AEW, of course they've been around about 3 years now, going on 3 years, and they've brought to me a healthy competition to the forefront for WWE. And I feel like WWE has had to kind of elevate their game a little bit. Do you follow a lot of AEW, and what do you think of their product?
I do watch their product. In fact, I had recorded Rampage. I watched it this morning. I always like to record Rampage because it's better when you watch it and fast forward. I'm just kidding. They really do.
I've been doing that on Raw for years.
It's a little, it's a bit different from WWE, but there. And I tell people this on our podcast. They'll bring up some of the newer stuff now and how they don't like it. But what I have learned is that you have to turn off that old school mentality to enjoy today's product, because the men and women that are out there today are fantastic athletes, and they're doing stuff that I couldn't do 10% of myself. We were more reality based. We were more about telling the story. The business has changed. I don't know that it's for the better per se, but I don't want to be bitter about it either. Everything in life changes. And I mentioned talking to Lou Thesz, and in 1985, I was privileged to be on the show, and he was one of the commentators on the show. And we were talking backstage, and he was telling me how much he hated wrestling then. And I thought, it's 1985. We're at the height. This is some of the best wrestling ever. But Lou Thesz hated it because it was so different from what he had grown up in. So I guess it's just natural that whatever you grew up with, it's hard to leave that behind. And I'm not saying leave it behind, because God bless YouTube. We can go out there and watch just about anything.
Yeah.
And some great stuff out there. But I've also found that I can really enjoy today's product. In fact, my co-hosts on Pro Wrestling Inside and Out, Brent and Rodney West, absolutely detest Danhausen, and I think he's great.
I love Danhausen. Yeah.
You're watching. We aren't watching professional wrestling anymore. We're watching entertainment.
Yeah.
And if you're going to entertain me, I want to be entertained. Danhausen does that for me. Several others do that.
Yeah, the Danhausen gimmick, I love it. The face paint and it's only a matter of time, and hopefully AEW does this, but it's only a matter of time before they get him paired up with Sting and Darby Allin. I think it's just a natural fit. Yeah. But I like what they're doing with the whole Hook angle as well. Hook is a popular up and coming star as well, and that's you bring up a good point, Jack, as far as Lou Thesz, and then we've had guests on here like Rip Rogers, for example. We talked to him about today's wrestling, and I've even been a little critical as far as guys like Adam Cole and whatnot. They're not really big guys, Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, but they're high flyers. They're unbelievably athletic. They're doing things that guys couldn't. I guess guys wouldn't do 20 years ago. So I don't know. I guess the transition to the smaller, more athletic, quote unquote, more athletic, more acrobatic wrestler, I guess it's just the wave of what we have ahead of us going forward. It looks like.
Well, I think too, though, that eventually, I don't know if it'll happen while I'm still here or not, but I think wrestling's going to have to go back to its roots, mainly because you're getting so many of these young folks that are getting hurt, and they're getting hurt pretty bad because there's really a limit to physically what you're able to do in there. And when you're in that mindset, and this is where we're at now, is you got to do more and more and more. Well, that caps at some point. And, you're either going to have to figure out that there's a smarter way to do it to where you don't get hurt as much. My only issue with that is I think that it's going to be hard to go back, only because those of us that still remember how to do the old school way, we're not going to be around anymore to teach anybody. So it's still going to be a huge learning curve for the generations to come.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't think wrestling's going anywhere, though.
No, and that's the thing. That's what, not just AEW, but NWA, has kind of made a comeback, and there's a lot of, Major League Wrestling, and there's just so many, which is great because, we talk a lot about the territory days and, what that was like. And of course, it's a little different now, because your access to it is through the internet and whatnot, where back then it was through magazines and all that stuff. So it's cool that there's a lot of independence. Ring of Honor, I know it was bought by Tony Khan, but Ring of Honor is going to have another outlet. So, looking forward to see, what's going on with the future of wrestling as far as that's concerned. But yeah, I'd love to see, I do still appreciate the big guys, the Braun Strowmans of the world we haven't seen in a while. And, I'd like to see Bray Wyatt make a comeback at some point. But let me ask you about this as well, Jack. And I don't know if you heard about this story. There was a recent issue with Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out on Vince McMahon and Monday Night Raw. They were scheduled for the main event. I guess they didn't like the direction that main event was going to, and they walked out. And they haven't gotten a ton of support as far as like from the wrestling world. Maybe a few people here and there stuck up for them, but a lot have said, hey, look, this is your job. Just do your job. What do you think about that whole situation?
Well, from the wrestler side of it, I get their frustration. I really do. But also, they're making so much money up there. They make more in a year than I made my entire career. So it's hard for me to feel sorry for them.
Right.
They're being asked to do things that upset them. From the promotion side of it, which I have been, equally behind the scenes working. I promoted some, but I've booked a ton of promotions here in the South. But if it were me and they came in and put belts on the table and walked out, that would be the last time anybody would see them.
Yeah, it's almost kind of reminded me of the back in the day with the Ultimate Warrior situation. He was in and out, and I'm sure it's happened a lot of other times that we haven't heard about or have heard about where, you hear a lot these days, with internet dirt sheets and whatnot, that Vince McMahon is known to tear up scripts before showtime and then just kind of do the show on the fly. So I wonder if maybe something there changed last minute that they weren't happy with. It's tough to say.
Well, that's what I heard was they didn't like the fact that they were going to be split up just for this next pay-per-view as a tag team and both of them wrestling each of the champions from each brand and putting those champions over. Now, to me, I'm thinking you're getting on a pay-per-view and that's a bump in pay. So you ought to be happy to be able to do that. But they're more concerned about their character and everything. And I guess there was some misunderstanding between they thought Vince had agreed with them that they were going to change direction on what they were going to do out of that match. And then when one of the agents told them, no, this is still what we're going to do, that's when they got mad and left.
Yeah, like you said, with the money they're making, just go out and do it. I mean, sheesh. And not only that, but these days with appearances and whatnot that these wrestlers are able to take advantage of compared to back in the day. So, yeah, that's an interesting take on that. It just made me curious as to what could possibly boil over to the point where it leads to somebody walking out. So it's crazy. But, Jack, I know your time is sensitive this morning, sir. I don't want to keep you too long, but man, we appreciate you coming in and just shooting the shit about some wrestling with us, man. We'd love to have you back again down the road to do the same. Anytime we get wrestling stories, we appreciate it, man.
I used to take shows all over the United States, and I did a show in Lockport up there.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Oh, wow.
In 2001.
Wow.
So, maybe in the future I can come back. We can tell you there was a plethora of great stories that came out of that.
And like I said, man, if Chris needs a good roughing up here, we could send you over here and maybe throw Chris in a suplex or two or something.
Well, I'd have to come up there, and I'll be honest with you, I thoroughly enjoyed being up in that area.
Nice.
Hey, man, all I can recommend is between the end of April and the end of September is probably the best time. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at a blizzard or two.
I was there in January. I have never seen that much snow except for when I lived in Germany. I think it was even more than Germany. So, yeah.
Yeah, we pretty much freeze our asses off here every winter. So yeah. But Jack, thank you again, sir, so much for joining us on the Falls Count Anywhere podcast. And again, anytime, you are always welcome back to join us for some wrestling stories and whatnot. And again, sir, we appreciate your time today.
All right, guys. Take care of yourself.
Take care, Jack. Alrighty.
Thank you.
All right, that is Mr. Jack Lord joining us today on the podcast. I want to thank him again for his time. John, I believe we're going to take a quick break first. Is that correct?
Yep, we'll take a break and
all right, we got
back in about 3 minutes.
After the break, we got some clips coming up here from Chris. I think we got a clip of Jack Lord, if I'm not mistaken. Correct?
Yes, sir, we do.
Yes, we do.
So yeah, we're gonna dig that out of the archives with some other footage as well. We also got some Sheik tweets and other stuff coming up. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Be right back.
All right, well,
we're back, and real quick, I just want to thank our sponsors here on Gorillas Inc. side. Thank you very much for keeping us running. All of you great sponsors. Also out there, if you those are our local sponsors here in Western New York, but heck, we can do it all around the country, all around the world. So
around the world, man.
Contact us if you ever on Gorillas Inc. And back to you, Charlie and Chris.
Well, Chris, John, on that subject, you said Patriot Landscaping did some work for you, right? They hooked you up.
They are something else. They are they're outstanding, and I'll tell you, their beautification part of it is something that I think I've never seen before in a landscaping company. So they're outstanding. Yeah, very
nice.
good.
Oh, very good. Good to hear. And we won't hold the Patriot name against them. Patriot is in USA, not the New England Patriots. So
no, not
none of that. And it's Western New York. I mean, no.
Right. And guys, don't forget about our store out there. Check it out. We got all kinds of stuff for sale: t-shirts, mugs, cards, you name it. We got it. Check it out.
That's right, Gorillas Inc. store, man. Buy some shit because they got some cool stuff. But yeah, guys, we definitely got to talk a little bit about some current wrestling here. They got a lot of stuff going on. Of course, we have a AEW pay-per-view coming up this weekend, next weekend, the 29th. It's going to be the Double or Nothing pay-per-view. CM Punk is going to get his title match against Hangman Page. Chris, asking you off the bat, CM Punk with the possibility of winning the title for AEW, to me, I think that gives them a boost. What do you think about that?
Yeah, big time boost. And since his return, I think a big time boost as far as the fans go, and CM Punk back. I believe he deserves the title for a run. Hopefully more than a month or
Yeah.
two.
I
But
think
yeah,
he'd be a more recognizable champion too. Nothing against Hangman. But I don't know. We've talked about this before with the AEW champions. I feel like they haven't stood out as much as they could. And I think CM Punk is one of those guys that can elevate that title for AEW. I think, he's the perfect the mouthpiece, the promo work that he does and the in-ring, of course. Another guy too, and it doesn't have to be a former WWE guy, but another guy I think could carry it at this point is MJF. That guy gets massive heat when he's in any other arena except Long Island, of course, because that's where he's from. But man, I'll tell you what, he is fantastic as far as getting heat from the crowd, and just works perfectly as like an arrogant, preppy kind of heel that you just want to slap around and nobody can quite get a hand on the guy. You got to go through like his entire crew to even get to him for a match. I love what MJF brings to AEW, and would love to see him get a title shot down the road. And of course, him and CM Punk had a nice feud there for a little while, so they could always reignite that. And the other guy involved with MJF is Wardlow. I don't know if you guys saw this, where he had to take the lashes from MJF as he's basically standing there in the ring handcuffed, taking lashes from a belt. And he had to take 10 of them, and he kind of smiled them off, being the big tough guy Wardlow. I think he's one guy that I know WWE has expressed interest in that they would love to bring in. I think Wardlow is a guy that is another one that could eventually, carry the title for AEW. I don't know if you guys saw this, but AEW, and not a lot of wrestling organizations do this anymore, but AEW has the ramp that goes right up to the side of the ring there. So it's kind of like at the same level as the ramp. But after the show went off the air, Bryan Danielson literally got his legs stuck between the ramp and the ring.
Oh,
and if you go on Twitter or whatever, if you go or Google it, YouTube it, whatever, there's probably a video of it. Bryan Danielson getting his legs stuck. He was stuck in there for about 15 minutes after the show, and they finally got him released from it. But I don't know, kind of a freak accident. I guess he's fine. He walked away with no problems. But I don't know, just a side note. I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah, I did see that, Charlie. And but real quick, getting back to CM Punk being a notable mouthpiece champion for AEW and their product. Not since Jericho was like that type of person. And Kenny Omega, I mean, I've heard of him and knew him from New Japan Pro. Excellent wrestler, and then to hold those titles at the same time, very good, but still not that well known like CM Punk and Jericho are. So
yeah, and I get it too. I mean, I'm sure AEW wants to establish their own, right, and not just use all former WWE guys. But I just think for the sake of the championship, of the title itself, I just think it just needs that little bump in elevation from a guy that's known from. If you're a casual fan, you know who CM Punk is in most cases. If you're a casual fan, you might not know who Hangman Page is right off the bat. So, I think that would be interesting. We'll see, though. We'll see. It could always be a swerve where he doesn't win it at this pay-per-view, and they keep going with Omega. So we'll see. The other thing, too, which I love what they're doing with AEW with the Owen Hart tournament, the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. It's a typical tournament, but they've been utilizing wild cards. And last week they debuted Johnny Drip Drip, Johnny Morrison, from formerly of WWE. He made his AEW debut. He was the wild card to face Samoa Joe in that tournament, returning as Johnny Elite. But he got his ass kicked by Samoa Joe, who was the Ring of Honor champion. Samoa Joe is another guy, is just great. So an established wrestler as well, has been in the business for over 20 years now. So we'll see what happens with this pay-per-view as well. Adam Cole defeated Jeff Hardy. So I believe it's Cole and Samoa Joe. I'm not really sure about all of the finals of the tournament there, but it's going to culminate at the pay-per-view on the 29th of February. Again, it's AEW Double or Nothing. It's on February 29th. As far as WWE, as of last night, The tag titles were unified as RK Bro was defeated by the Usos. Look, I like Roman Reigns as a heel, but my gosh, like he's winning at everything. Like there's no babyface payoff with Roman Reigns. Like last night, the show ended where the Usos, they won the unified titles. They beat the crap out of Orton and Riddle. They're laid out in the ring. It's the bloodline, with Paul Heyman and everybody just kind of holding their titles up. And the show ends with booing, which is fine. But I feel like it's just been the case way too much. There's no babyface payoff when it comes to Roman Reigns. What's up with that?
Well, and who's real quick, what about that giant in AEW? Wow.
Oh, right. Yeah. Big 7-foot dude. I'm not even familiar with his name, but
wow.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know. I mean, I'm glad they unified the titles. There's just too many titles in WWE, in my opinion. So that was a good thing. The Usos have been good for a number of years. No discredit there. But I mean, it's like, they didn't let Goldberg beat Reigns. Lesnar had to lose to Reigns.
Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt was the title holder. Actually, he defeated Bray Wyatt for the title.
I don't know who they're going to get to come in and finally beat him or even another heel. I don't, heel versus heel or a face.
Right, they made him too invincible. Too invincible. I mean,
that's why I don't watch it, because it's just the same old stuff. And Roman Reigns has been the champion for how many,
Geez, over 600 days now. He's going on 2 years.
Wow.
Well, I shouldn't say going on 2 years, but over 600 days. And he's had a hell of a run. But like I said, I would just love to see just a babyface payoff at the end of one of these shows where somebody just really gets the best of Roman Reigns and the bloodline, and the crowd is just going nuts, because I think the crowd is kind of hankering for it to happen, and it never happens. Even with Brock Lesnar, you would think that maybe he would get his hands on those guys and do the typical Brock Lesnar destruction of those guys, but it just never happened. So I think that's one of the things I miss, like back in the day. And I'm sorry, Chris, not to interrupt you, but what I'm thinking, guys, is somebody like maybe KO, who was a Ring of Honor champion and is a pretty good wrestler, really. Fantastic on the mic, yeah.
Yeah, maybe they need to develop him into a Stone Cold character and, do it that way to beat Reigns, because I don't know who else is going to do it.
And that's the thing. Like, and the point I was going to make is we talk about the Attitude Era, right? Like the whole Stone Cold and Vince McMahon storyline, where a lot of shows ended where Vince McMahon had the upper hand, but you would have a lot of shows where the payoff with, the beer truck with Stone Cold and spraying everybody with beer. I just feel like we don't get enough of that against Roman Reigns. It's just all Roman Reigns and nobody else. So hopefully they'll get a little balance in that storyline, because I don't know. I just think it's a little overkill. Like I said, I like him as a heel. I think it's been better as a heel, Roman Reigns, but I don't know. I got my complaints. WWE, we have our complaints. We could go all day about it, right? So,
yeah.
But hey, guys, more importantly, of course, as we talk classic wrestling here on the show, John, are we going to fire up the tweets, or are we going to fire up the vault first?
Can we go with the tweets first, if
Absolutely.
you don't mind?
No, absolutely, man. Let's bring up the Sheik tweets as we hear from our buddy, the Iron Sheik.
Yep, let me bring them up. Let me get the Sheik tweets going. All right, here, we'll bring the first one up for everyone.
Yeah, see what this jabroni had to say this week.
Yeah, here we go. First one.
All right, so Bovada asked the question, what is the most intense rivalry in sports? And the Sheik said, well, that's Hulk Hogan versus telling the truth. I've heard that before. Hogan wasn't the most popular guy backstage back in the day. And, of course, he's never popular with the Iron Sheik, but Hulk Hogan versus the truth sounds like a hell of a rivalry, according to the Sheik.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, hold on. Hold on. There's more.
Oh, yeah. So this was asked again by Bovada. Retweet for overrated, like for underrated. And, the point was to just retweet the tweet where the Sheik just kind of put that retweet symbol like a million times because he feels that the Hulkster is overrated. And, of course, the Sheik is still bitter from that loss back in 1984 at Madison Square Garden all these years later, going on 40 years, right?
Yeah, the Sheik. Yeah, I mean, But then, well, let me bring up this one. This one's it's kind of just well, here, let me bring it up.
This one hits close to home. Sending the Sheik, sending love to the people in Buffalo. Now the Sheik, he's sent some love to Bills Mafia in the past. I think he's a little bit of a Bills fan as well, calling Josh Allen the real Bubba or whatever. But he was sending love to the people in Buffalo, of course. As you know, there was the tragedy that happened at the Tops in Buffalo with the shooting, the senseless act of violence that took place there, and the Sheik, as well as us here at our podcast here, just sending out love to the families of those victims. Just an absolutely awful thing. And you know, the sad part is we've seen it all over this country, and you know, it's just been craziness, and to see it happen kind of in our backyard. And, you know, it just kind of hit close to home, so to speak. And then when you see like the Bills, the Buffalo Bills players and the Buffalo Sabres, the Buffalo Bandits, the Pagulas, even some of the Bills alumni, Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, they all came to the area to make sure that they were here to support the people of the community and put a smile on their face, even just for a couple minutes, because what happened there was absolutely senseless and awful. Absolutely
even John, guys, I was surprised to see the NFL commissioner right here in Buffalo.
Yeah, he's from Youngstown, correct?
He holds a special heart to Buffalo. I understand that, but that was a big statement for him, so that was cool.
It was, yeah, and I'm pretty confident. I think he's from Youngstown, or from at least Western New York. I do know that. Yeah. So yeah, you know, thank you to Roger Goodell and everybody. Yeah, just craziness. But the Sheik sending some love out to our way, and out mainly to that community that was affected, and we want to send them our love too, because that was just absolutely tragic. But hey, guys,
that's great. Real quick, guys,
yeah.
2 tidbits. John, of course, you know, Iron Sheik also wrestled in the Buffalo area back in the day and across the border in Toronto, Canada. So I'm sure he's familiar with this area from back in 70s, early 80s.
Of course, the Odd and you know, the Niagara Falls Convention Center.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's great for the Sheik, and that kind of segues, I guess, into what I gotta say. An unfortunate anniversary today, guys, or yesterday, but a shout out and a memory of the late great Randy Macho Man Poffo Savage, if you will. Had his heart attack at the wheel in the car accident there in Florida. And so we lost a great one on this sad anniversary.
11 years ago already, man. It's hard to believe. You know, the thing that sucks about that too is, and this is something you could YouTube if you haven't seen it, but this was right before he had passed away. WWE was releasing a video game at the time, and he did a promo for it. It was like because it was one of the first times they were bringing back the legends on the video game. So he did a promo for it, and you know, he had a big white beard, and he was a little older. You know, of course, he was in his 50s when he passed away. He had a big white beard and the sunglasses, and he did an awesome promo. And it was kind of like the path for him coming back to WWE, because he wasn't always on the best of terms with Vince McMahon, not that I know of, or that I know of just from reading dirt sheets and stuff like that, and Stephanie McMahon rumors and all that shit. But long story short, yeah, it looked like the Macho Man was on his way back in a Legends capacity, and then that tragedy happened not too much later that year, unfortunately. But yeah, shout out to the Macho Man, brother. You got to dig it, brother. The Macho Man. I'm gonna go eat a Slim Jim today,
there you go.
Let me ask you guys something real quick. Did you see, maybe you guys might know, or maybe not, because I just happened to catch it, something about Stephanie McMahon leaving for a little while? There was some kind of I saw a tweet of it. Do you have any idea? Was there any discussion as to why she's taken off?
Yeah, well, twofold on that. I heard that she's stepping away a little bit, and now Triple H, Paul Levesque, he's back in a full-time role. He had to kind of scale back because of the heart issues he was having. Again, if you haven't seen the 30 for 30, not 30 for 30, but it wasn't a 30 for 30. It was an interview on ESPN Plus. He kind of goes into detail of what he went through a near-death experience. But now he is back full-time, and I think that's why maybe Stephanie's taking a step back, just taking a break. Who knows? But yeah, I'm assuming she'll be back in some capacity at some point.
Yeah, I did see that, and we'll see what happens. But guys, you know what time it is, John?
Oh yeah.
It is classic clips here from the vault. My own personal classic clips from my collection each and every week, as we do here. And John, let's roll the first one in honor
Yes,
of our guest today, Mr. Jack Lord.
Yes, 1 second, please. Had a little bit of a mishap here. Hold on. No big deal. You know what it is? When I'm producing the show, people just don't understand. Leave me alone. So stuff starts popping up all over the place, and I hit the button. I'm going to do this, and I'm popping up on some stupid.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. Technology.
Just leave me alone. Anyways. All right.
Yeah, don't you know we're doing a show here?
Yeah,
I know. What the hell? All right. Let me bring up the clip. You ready?
All right, we're ready.
Here it goes. Remember, unmute your mics.
Oh. There's the big man, Mr. Jack Lord.
Yes, here we are, Mr. Jack Lord in the squared circle here. As wait till we see his mystery opponent, guys.
Look how big man. Yeah, look at him.
Yeah, what? There goes the ring announcer. Oh, and here comes a bigger man. Bam, bam, Terry Gordy of the Fabulous Freebirds.
Yeah. Look at the ref. He's just going wild.
Wow, yeah, there's a couple of big boys about to go at it here.
Yeah, wow, and the voice there, commentator, Mr. Joe Pedicino, back in the day, calling the action here. But a clip of our guest in action.
Yeah. When I first saw it, I thought it was almost Jerry the King Lawler at first, but I knew it wasn't. But it's just by the look of him for a moment.
Right. Yeah.
Where is this taking place at? Do you know?
I'm not sure even what promotion this was under either, but
yeah.
I got a couple clips of him in the squared circle, so I figured I'd bring this one up, and then we're gonna go into him on their show there. Pro Wrestling Inside and Out can be seen, on YouTube. I watch it, and on Facebook.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, clip of their show here. You can see Jack in action as far as the podcast.
Yep, it's a great show. Each week they run down a lot of wrestlers and also by number order and talk some recent stuff. It's a good show.
Yeah, they busted out some old school wrestling cards and stuff like that recently, where they talked about some old wrestling magazine publications, that sort of stuff. Thought it was really cool. Yeah, if you get a chance, check it out on social media because it's a pretty cool show. They, we appreciate that being classic wrestling fans. Of course, they talk about the old days.
Real fast, Mr. Lord again. These guys never fail to hit it out of the park. What a great interview. What so much to say. We could have kept going.
The only thing we didn't get the stogie from Mr. Jack Lord. I noticed he always has a cigar in hand. Maybe it was a little too early in the morning. It was Alabama time, around like 10 a.m. So maybe when we interviewed. So. I was looking forward to seeing a stogie in there.
Yeah, like a trademark now. Classic.
Yeah, that's right.
Here comes our next clip.
All right.
Match, one fall with a 10-minute time limit.
Here's that classic voice of Norm Kimber. Here we go. One of John's favorite from Maple Leaf Wrestling.
Oh, there's DiCarlo. There he is.
Whoa!
Yeah. Too bad I never knew him.
Silent Brian Mackney, though. I don't even know what to say about the guy. I've talked about him before. It's just I appreciate him now, but boy, I was always disappointed when I'd see him in the afternoon. I really was. I didn't like
taking a beating from some wrestlers, as we'll see here coming up, and here's one tag team that he definitely took a beating from. Oh, and then here, he actually tags with them.
Yeah, he teamed up. This is a big moment.
Yeah, he teams up with the Moondogs after they stomped him.
Yeah.
Speaking of our Terry Gordy, Freebird there against Mr. Lord. Here he is in his iconic role part of the Fabulous Freebirds 6-man tag team.
And I'm guessing they had to have pinned or something had to happen to Magny.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know. You'll have to check that out sometime, Charlie, John. I don't know if he's got any wins.
Yeah. Look at this guy. I mean, come on.
What is his name even? I tried to hear Kimber, but
Serge Jodin or Joden? I don't know.
He's from Quebec, and then this guy's from Burlington now.
So you just got off of work teaching gym class, that guy.
Oh.
And then you got
look
now
at
you got
your
Bundy.
opponent.
Yeah, good luck to those guys.
That's why they look like, yeah.
I'll tell you
How
what,
much do we
man.
get paid for this?
King Kong Bundy's had such a natural intimidation about him, man. Just his absolute size and just that mean-looking mug on his face, man. King Kong Bundy was definitely one of those guys that's instant heel. Instant heel. You can't keep him as a good guy.
Yeah, the
The
5
classic
count.
5 count.
The 5 count, right? Yeah, give me 5. That's right, man. So great.
If I can find Magny, he lives in, I guess he's from Hamilton or Burlington, Ontario, which isn't far from us. I'd love to find him and have you guys interview him, because I would love to hear if he would embrace the fact of being the enhancement talent. I would love to hear what Magny has to say, because he's just taking a beating. I remember him against Andre. I mean,
Yeah. And when we hear, like when we've talked to some of the, quote unquote enhancement talent here on this show, man, just some of their stories as well are just is equally as interesting, because, they're doing the same job, right? They're in the trenches with everybody else.
and I'd love to know what Magny's other job was. He had to do something else. There's no way that was his, that couldn't have been. That couldn't have been what he did for a living, is what I'm saying. Like, there had to be a secondary job for Magny.
When we get to our enhancement of this week, I was going to get into that, because I had some questions about how our enhancement talent of the week made money. It was like, what? How could he survive on that? So there had to be a second job somewhere.
Definitely.
We'll look into that. We'll check that out. Hopefully he's alive, John, and we can get him on the show.
Big fan.
Yeah,
All right,
hopefully
next
he's alive, first and foremost. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
But
Magny.
roll it.
Here we go.
Precious Paul Ellering.
Here we go, guys. I guess we a lot of things about tag teams. Like recently, we're on the
This is not the Village people.
AWA Unleashed podcast. This past week, they talked about tag teams, and
They did,
we're
yes.
going to start at the top, guys. Right? The impressive, multi-time tag team champion territory, the Road Warriors, the Hawk and the Animal.
Wow. So look at the look that they went with before they went to the spiked shoulder pads and the face paint.
Right, the early biker look here, and they had hair.
Wow.
Kind of, yeah. Village people, and this guy's like
Is that Uncle Sam?
Willy Wonka.
Precious Paul Ellering.
There we go. There's a little bit more of the Road Warriors we know, with the face paint, and we got some.
Yeah. So they were that first clip was the Georgia National Tag Team Champions. Here we have the AWA Tag Team Champions.
Wow, that
We
spiked
have a couple
collar wouldn't even
more
stay
clips.
on Animals or on Hawk's neck because it was so huge.
Yeah, in fact, we're gonna wow. Here's something, guys. I thought they should have gave there's our good friend David Crockett, World Championship Wrestling. When
Oh,
they were
yeah,
the
Mr.
heel,
Crockett,
they
there
played
he
the
is.
heel. They played the heel with the tag team title here in '88, but they were NWA Tag Team Champions.
These guys, just their look, man. We talked about Bundy, right? Just instant heel. Like these guys, like instant stars, man. The mohawks, the face paint, the spiked shoulder pads. Awesome.
And of course, here WWF Tag Team Champions. Just
So let me ask you guys: do you guys hold the Road Warriors as the greatest tag team of all time? To me, I think they're top 2 or 3 at least, if not the best.
indeed, yes, indeed.
They kind of kind of reinvented the tag team division with.
Well, especially real quick, they were Georgia, AWA, NWA, WWF, and one clip we didn't see was they had the All Japan tag titles. So there's 5 different titles for one team there, and
just
they're
absolutely legendary. Yeah.
closely compared to the Dudley Boys, though, because the Dudleys had the ECW tag belts. the WWF tag belts and the NWA belts on NWA TNA.
Oh.
So there's a little comparison there, but yeah, the Road Warriors got to be at the top.
Absolutely. And the one team that me anyway, that I think of immediately when you say the Road Warriors, I think of Demolition. And I think a lot of initial thoughts were, well, Demolition is kind of a ripoff of the Road Warriors. But, man, Demolition established their own identity with their own style. Very similar, but very different. And, man, talk about another classic tag team. But, yeah, the Road Warriors, just thinking about those two guys. The cool thing was, real quick story, Comic-Con here in Niagara Falls, Canada. Well, up there in Niagara Falls, Canada. I'm in Niagara Falls, New York. But Niagara Falls, Canada, Animal made an appearance in 2019. It was one of his last appearances because, unfortunately, he has since passed away. But Animal was signing autographs at Comic-Con, and basically the way it's laid out, it's a big, gigantic room, and there's a whole back wall filled with tables where all the wrestlers are signing autographs and meeting people and taking pictures. And then like the rest of the crowd is kind of, checking out the vendors and whatever else people are selling and food and all that stuff. So there's like a massive crowd of people in this convention center, and then everything's kind of taped off to where like the wrestlers are. Well, anyway, at one point I'm just at an exhibit. I'm looking at stuff. I'm looking at, whatever, wrestling figures or action figures, whatever. And all of a sudden this big dude just comes kind of, through the crowd. And I was like, whoa, I was like, that's Animal. I said, hey, Animal, what's up, dude? And he looked right at me. He goes, hey, how's it going, man? And he just kept going wherever he was heading to. But
Nice.
He didn't ignore anybody. He kind of just was like, hey, what's going on, man? And just kind of kept going. But it was just like, oh, man, that was Animal. And he just walked right past me. I don't know, a little starstruck there. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, one of the best tag teams of all time, if not the best, the Road Warriors.
All
Anyway.
right, John, we got one more clip here.
Yep, here we go.
Of course,
No.
our buddy, the Iron Sheik.
Oh,
Yes. Now, this was the Colonel Mustafa gimmick that the Iron Sheik took on when the Iraq War was going on back in the early 90s. And he just absolutely gets his ass whipped by the Undertaker here.
Yeah, I believe it was less than 2 minutes.
Oh yeah, that was
He humbled the Sheik right there.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, how could you have the Sheik beat this guy, though,
And this was the Undertaker during his ascent to greatness, man. He was just getting started. So, yeah.
And then here's one, guys, which is a rarity, right? Looks like on an independent scene somewhere. The Iron Sheik took on his famous tag team partner, Nikolai Volkov.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize these two went at it. Very good. This is a good clip here, Chris. Very good, man.
Yeah,
This
look at
was, how recent was this clip?
This was probably within the past 15 years, maybe, because then
Oh, wow. Okay.
we lost Nikolai died, unfortunately, too.
Right, yeah. So you got to figure, I mean, the Sheik, he's 80 years old right now. He might be in his 60s at this point in this clip.
Yeah, and putting on a little show against the tag team partner there.
So again,
Yeah, I
another
thought that
example,
was,
the Sheik in his 60s, we were talking about Ric Flair coming back in his 70s. Still able to move around here, the Sheik. Of course, Nikolai taking a beating.
The venue is something else, man. I'd love to know where this is. And it's a big tent, almost like a wedding.
It's like the old Winter Garden they used to have here, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, there he goes.
Yep, trying to put the boots to the Sheik. Of course,
Yeah.
who would have thought Nikolai was going to play the face here?
Right. Wow.
But yeah, I thought this was a rare clip we had to put on here. Of course, we try and do some clips of our buddy the Iron Sheik plus his tweets each and every week.
Yeah, that's
Nikolai,
That's great.
Get him on.
Nikolai was humbling the Sheik there. A couple of clips of the Sheik getting his ass kicked, but that's all right. Like we said, the Undertaker, man, he was just starting his ascent into greatness. At that point, he was still with Paul Bearer right there, and with the Urn.
so scary. That was when he was very scary at that time. I mean, it was just the look was unreal.
It really was cool. Yeah.
You know what I didn't like, and then I probably shouldn't. I didn't like when he was on a motorcycle.
Oh, the American Badass.
I was
Undertaker,
not a big
yeah.
fan. That turned me. I don't know. I never got used to him in that way. But maybe it was just me holding on to the past. Like,
No, you're not alone in that. There's some people that love it, that wish he would have came back as American Badass. But it made sense at the time when you look back at it, because I wasn't a huge fan of it either. I'm a huge fan of the Deadman gimmick, right? The Grim Reaper. But they kind of, when they talk about that era, the Attitude Era, they just don't know if the Undertaker, the dark character, would have worked as well as American Badass. And man, I'll tell you what, one of the coolest, to me, WrestleMania 20 is my favorite Undertaker entrance, because he comes back with Paul Bearer, and the look he went with was kind of like the American Badass, but like a dead version of the American Badass with the do-rag, but he was like with the dark eyes and everything. I just thought that was absolutely awesome. Man, we could talk about the Undertaker's career for hours because it was so damn legendary. But hey, guys, we talk about legends, and of course we talk about enhancement talent, right? And of course we want to bring up our enhancement talent of the week, our jobber of the week, if you will. He is Mr. W.T. Jones, the Jawbreaker, Wilt Jones. He also wrestled under. Unfortunately, he was only 0-16 in the World Wrestling Federation, 0 wins, 16 losses. He did cover a span of 1989 to 1993, wrestling on both Wrestling Challenge and Superstars of Wrestling. He was originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, at 6'3", 260 pounds. So a pretty big dude, not a small guy at all. And he had a mean look about him when you see him there, kind of like a Bad News Brown type of, don't take any shit kind of look. Yeah. But, John, as you mentioned, right, with the part-time workers, like I said, he only wrestled 16 matches in 4 years. And I was kind of looking at some of those, and it looks like a lot of it was in the Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin area. So I'm wondering if, when the WWF did tours back then, if they were near somebody's area that has worked for them previously, they contact and say, hey, we're doing a taping. Can you come in and, record a couple matches for us, this and that? Because again, 16 matches over 4 years is not paying the mortgage, I would assume. I'm assuming he had a separate job somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking for Mac. Like, yeah, when we were looking at Macney, I mean, had to be. And this guy here, at least he looked, like you said, the size of him. Like, I don't know. I can appreciate that. I mean, when he's going to go up against whomever and get, he's at least formidable matchup.
Yeah.
When the guys like me, 5'7", I mean, 150 pounds, 160 pounds, it's just, it was insane. I don't even know how they might as well brought the midgets out. But this guy was a good one.
That's little people, John, not midgets.
Little people. I'm sorry. I'm going to get declared.
The show's going off the air tonight. Yeah.
And then you got to get quick. Macney got paid in Canadian money.
All right.
Which is like Monopoly money. So
Macney. Yeah. Yeah. What I say it all the time to you guys, and I love that you do this. Those guys were great because they were part of our childhood, part of it. I remember Macney. I'll never forget him.
You mentioned Canadian money, and my mind wanders, but the Canadian $5 bill has got like a bunch of guys playing hockey on the back of it, which is, how Canadian is that, right?
That's great. Yeah.
But yeah, just as we mentioned, I was telling a quick story about Animal at the Niagara Falls Comic-Con. If you're in the area, Niagara Falls, Canada, if you're allowed over the border, if you haven't committed any crimes or anything in the past 10 years, I don't know how that works. But anyway, if you're near Canada, Niagara Falls, Canada area, if you're in Canada, the Niagara Falls Comic-Con takes place from June 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And I've attended the last 4 or 5 years. Of course, it was on hold the last 2 years because of the coronavirus and all that shit that we're all just completely exhausted with. But now it's back this year. Some of the names showing up there, you got Kevin Nash is going to be there. I believe Sergeant Slaughter as well. And also Santino Marella. Haven't heard from him in a long time. He's going to be making an appearance there as well. And also, John, and first of all, sorry about your Maple Leafs, but the goaltender that played for Carolina, the Zamboni driver, he's actually making an appearance as well, the one that played net to beat Toronto.
And it's such bullcrap. He wasn't even
Yeah, no.
He was the Leafs practice goalie. They keep calling the Zamboni. He drove Zamboni once. They don't. I'm used to it.
Nah, but that's my dude. I kind of rattled the Maple Leafs cage there a little bit. That's my bad. But I mean, a hell of a series against Tampa Bay. You lost to the two-time champs. There really can't be any shame in that. I hope they don't blow it up for the sake of Leafs fans. I think they have a core there that's going to do a lot of damage for years to come. We'll see.
Real fast, and I won't talk about this much more, Charlie and Chris, but Game 6, the two Phantom High sticks, those referees aren't allowed to ref anymore. They've been taken out of the playoffs. So,
okay. I like that.
That was interesting. It cost them the series. It really did, because I believe if they didn't have a 5-on-3, there's no way they tie the game and go to overtime. But that's what happens. When you're a bad team, when you're a team that is not like the Maple Leafs, I mean, some of you guys with the Bills and Sabres and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You get it. What can go wrong does. So
100%, man. That's why, and I'll transition away from sports in a second here, but of course, being in the Buffalo area, huge Bills fan. I'm a huge Bills fan. All these expectations for the Bills this year, Super Bowl. They're the favorite. Josh Allen's the favorite for MVP. It kind of scares me. It's like, okay, how are they going to screw it up this time? Like, what's going to happen that's going to absolutely rip our hearts out again for the 9 millionth time with this team? I'm just hoping. Just give me one, man. Just one.
I will. That's what I feel about the Leafs. And I'll tell you one thing real quick. I put it on Facebook before Game 6 and then before Game 7. They're not just playing Tampa. There is ghosts of playoff failures past that I don't know. There's something about it that I think people get a lump in their throat a little. So they got to bust. The Bills have to break through.
They got to break through, man. I mean, hey, if the Red Sox could do it, against my Yankees, which still pisses me off, and this was like almost 20 years ago, 2004.
Yeah.
If they could do it after an 86-year drought, anybody can do it, right? The Cubs, for that matter. The Cubs broke a 108-year drought. So we'll see. Go Bills. Go Sabres, too, for that matter. Hey, I'll even throw a Go Leafs in there for you, John. Just for the sake of continuity here on the show.
Well, as
that
we
kind of gave me indigestion when I said that.
Yeah.
As we transition to end this week, guys, a couple things. We'd like to thank all of our viewers, and Charlie, as you know, we got to thank John for his hard work and Robin for their hard work here behind the scenes. Our show Falls Count Anywhere is growing bigger, not only with the guests that we have and the viewership, but we're on YouTube, Twitter, Spotify, and of course right here on our home. So sky's the limits. Yeah, we're on Twitter. I think it's Fall Count Anywhere, because there's a lot of handles that are already taken. Is it Fall Count Anywhere? At Fall Count Anywhere. Yep.
Okay, so
Fall Count Anywhere. Yeah,
I'm sorry. It's at Count Anywhere, I think.
Oh, at Count. Okay, I knew it was kind of like abbreviated. So at Count Anywhere. Find us on Twitter, and it'll give you a link to our YouTube shows as well. So thank you so much for everybody that takes a few minutes, even if it's just a few minutes, to check out our show and watch us and our great guests that we have. And again, a thank you to Mr. Jack Lord for joining us, as we look forward to other guests joining us in the future as well. And of course, guys, we'll talk about it again next week as we come up on the AEW pay-per-view on Memorial Day weekend, as we head towards Memorial Day weekend next week for next week's show. And all that good stuff. So, guys,
real quick,
go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, Charlie. Real quick, John. As we do each and every week, our friend Elena DePaulo. Thoughts and prayers for her.
Yep, Elena DePaulo. If you don't know, she's we talk about this every week, and I thank you guys for doing it. Real fast. She's in her 30s. She's got a little guy, like 2 years old now, I believe. Anyways, she had leukemia and she beat it. In beating leukemia, she ended up having kidney failure. So bad that one of her kidneys completely failed, and she's on dialysis now. She needs a living donor. 716-898-5001 is the number you can call if you think you can be that living donor. And give them a call. It's easy. You don't have to go in. They're going to send you mail, and you'll just fill out forms, and you'll see if you're compatible. If you can't do that, you see this little flyer I put up on the screen. You can find that on Gorillas Inc. You can find that on all different pages that Gorillas Inc.'s involved in, all the different shows. Try to share that. If you share that, that'd be great, because more awareness. You can be anywhere in the world. If you can make it into ECMC, you could be the one who takes care of this for us and be the one who helps Elena, because we need to take care of this in 2022.
Absolutely. Chris, thanks for mentioning that, because sometimes, man, I'll go in another direction and all of a sudden I
Me
forget
too.
where the hell I'm at for 5 minutes. So, yeah, Chris, thanks for keeping it on the rails here, man. But guys, good show as always. Thank you so much. Again, thank you to our guest, Mr. Jack Lord. And thank you to everybody that takes a couple minutes, even just a couple minutes to watch us and check out our podcast. We hope to, bring you some insight when we do this show. We know there's like a million other options. I know Kevin Nash just announced he's going to be doing a new podcast called Click This with X-Pac. So that should be interesting. We'll keep an eye out on that. And of course, anytime there's any updates, I believe Ric Flair, his podcast is making a comeback as well. So we'll keep you updated on that. But anyway, as we wrap up here, guys, thank you so much for another awesome show. John, thank you for everything. Robin, Wade, everybody, the whole crew. We appreciate you guys as always. And thanks so much for joining us this week. And everybody have a great weekend.
Yep. We'll be back.